Okay, and like I said, I want to start on slide 9. Wait, not there, this one. Okay, can you see that okay? All right, so the verbs we're going to talk about today are irregular. So I'm just going to remind you what regular verbs are. I know we've done this multiple times, so this should be old hat for you at this point. But I just want to remind you, and you probably do want to pull up the slide because when I stand back there by the lights, this is kind of hard to see. Okay, so when we conjugate, so when we have our verbs, when they're first given to us, they have an R on the end of them. When they have an R on the end of them, all we know is what they mean. Like ayudar means to help, and comprender means to understand, and decidir means to decide. But we don't know who's doing the helping, the understanding, or the deciding. You have to conjugate to do that. In order to conjugate, you change the ending, and how to know how to change the ending, you look next to the R. If next to the R you see an A, you're going to use the set of endings that has a bunch of A's in them, which I've made red. And then you're going to take your stem and you're going to stick it in front. And that's how I can say, I help my little brother with his homework. You help your little brother with his homework. He helps his little brother with his homework. We all help our siblings with their homework. Do you all help your siblings with their homework? They help their siblings with their homework. Okay, and then for comprender, same thing. You look at that verb, next to the R, there's an E. So we want the set of endings that have a bunch of E's in them, which I have made blue. And then you just take the stem and stick it in front. That's how you can say, I understand how to conjugate. You understand how to conjugate. He understands how to conjugate. We all understand how to conjugate. Do y'all understand how to conjugate in Spanish? Do they understand how to conjugate in Spanish? And then lastly, you have decidir. You look to the left of the R in that verb. You see that it has an I. You want to pick the set of endings that has the most I's in it, which is this set right here, the green. You can see that the green and the blue look almost the same, except for right here in the nosotros and vosotros. Here we start with E's. Here we start with I's. So we pick those green endings. And then we put the stem in front to say that different people do the deciding. So I decide what classes to take next semester. You decide what classes to take next semester. He decides. We decide what classes to take and when. Do you all get to decide what classes to take? They decide what classes to take. Does that make sense? I mean, this we've seen over and over and over. You're probably bored of it, but I just like to put it back out there. So it will show up because it explains, you got to know how to do regular before you do irregular. And then for irregular, we're not going to do, like sometimes I kind of run back through these, but I'll just put them up real quick. A couple of them. So for example, ser is an irregular verb because the blue and black is what it should look like, but the purple is what it does look like. So since the blue and the black and the purple don't match, that means it's irregular. You can see that again with the star where the red and the black is what it should look like, but the purple is what it actually looks like and they don't match, so it's irregular. And you can see it even with bear. The blue and the black is what it's supposed to look like. The purple is what it actually looks like because they don't match everywhere. It's irregular. So the ones we're getting ready to do today, they are going to use the right endings, but their stems are going to have a spelling change. There's going to be a letter in the stem, which is the black part, that's either going to change from an E to an IE sometimes, an E to an I, or an O to a UE. Okay, and you can see it. For example, here it says, ¿Quiere un sándwich de pollo? No, señor, prefiero una hamburguesa. So he uses querer. And you can see that when he asked her, do you want a chicken sandwich? That E changed to an IE when he was saying, do you want, when he was saying who's doing the wanting. And then the preferir, when who's saying who's doing the preferring, you can see the same kind of thing happen, that E changed to an IE. And then if you look here, ella siempre sueña que está en la playa. Soñar has an O in the stem, but when we change it to say who's doing the dreaming, that O became a UE. And finally, you can see it here when she says, repito, no estoy enojada contigo. Repetir has an E, meaning to repeat. but we actually try to say who's doing the repeating, that E changed to an I. So I'm going to show you how these work. So if you want to look at slide 26, we'll start with querer, which is an E to an I stem changer. Okay, so how it works is that this is the original form of the, well, first off, it's an ER verb, right? How these verbs are irregular has nothing to do with their endings. So I'm going to take the ER endings, which are the blue ones, and plug them in here. All I'm messing with are my stems. So this is its original stem, which is what it came with. And then it tells you that it's an E to IE. So that means it has two stems. It has the original stem that it came with. And then we're going to take that E that's underlined and make it an IE. And that's my change stem. And so when I want to conjugate and say that different people want, maybe want to take all of their classes after 10 in the morning, this is how I would be able to say it for different people. So if I want to take my classes after 10 in the morning, am I going to use the regular or the change stem based on the color coding that's up there? This is the regular. Regular is yellow, changed is green. Do I want regular or yellow for if it's if it's me who wants to take my classes after 10 in the morning? Regular is yellow. Is yo yellow or is it green? Green, so we want the changed. So it's quiero. What about you? Do you want regular or changed? Is you green or yellow? Green, so we want changed again. And formal you, is it green or yellow? So we want the changed. If I want to say he wants to take his classes after 10, do I want regular or changed? Changed. What about if I want to say we want to take our classes after 10 a.m.? It's yellow this time. Do I want my original stem or my changed one? The regular one, right? What about if I want to ask you guys if you want to take your classes late in the afternoon and we're in Spain? That's vosotros. Do I need my regular or my changed stem? Is it green? Green is changed. Yellow is regular. Regular, okay? And then if I am in Latin America and I want to ask you, hey, do you all want to take your classes after 10 in the morning? Do you want regular or changed? Changed. And if I want to say they want to take their classes after 10 in the morning, do I want regular or changed? Changed, okay? And before I go on and do another one as an example, they sometimes call these guys boot verbs. And the reason why they call them that is if you set your verb chart up, not going, you know, straight down, but you set it up like you have singular, plural, first person, second person, third person. The change stem, because this is your regular, here's your change. Your change stem gets used here and your regular one here. And if you like make a little shape around it, it makes a boot. So they call them boot verbs. If that helps you remember when to use the change and when not to. Does that make sense? Okay, so we're going to do another one. I'll come back to that slide. Okay, another one that we have is preferir. If you look at preferir, it has next to its I, so you can watch me do it. Next to the next to the R is an I. So we want our green endings. We want the IR ones, and that's not what makes this verb irregular. It keeps the right endings. So I'm just going to plug in my green endings first. All I'm really messing with are my stems, okay? So this is my original stem, okay? But it also tells me it's an E to IE, so that means I can take that E, turn it into an IE, and that gives me my changed stem, okay? So sometimes I use my regular, sometimes I use my changed. Why does that not look the same? Whoa. That was very, I mean, like, I didn't even touch it. Did you see it? It was like yellow, and then all of a sudden it just turned green. That was very strange. Okay. There's a ghost in the computer. Okay. So if I prefer to eat chocolate ice cream over vanilla, am I going to use my regular or my change stem? Like is I green or yellow? Yellow is always regular, green is changed. Changed. If I want to say, do you prefer to eat vanilla or chocolate ice cream? Do I want my regular or my change stem? Changed. And even when I'm being formal, still the changed one. What about if I want to say he prefers chocolate ice cream to vanilla? Do I want my regular or my changed? Changed. But if I want to say we all prefer chocolate ice cream to vanilla, would I use my regular or my changed stem? Regular. And if I want to ask you guys, and I'm in Spain, and I want to say, hey, do you guys prefer chocolate ice cream or vanilla ice cream? Am I going to use my regular or my changed stem? Regular. But if I'm in Latin America and I want to ask you guys, hey, do you all prefer chocolate ice cream or vanilla? Are you going to use the regular or the changed? Changed. And then if I want to say they prefer chocolate ice cream over vanilla, do I want my regular or changed stem? Changed. Okay. And then I do want to point, we can skip that one. Well, maybe we should do it. We'll do one more. Okay. So empezar works the same way. But notice beside the R, you're not there. Notice that beside the R, there is an A. So we need the endings with a bunch of A's in them, which happen to be the red ones. Okay. And then this is my regular stem. Okay. And then again, it tells me that it's an E to IE stem changer. So I'm going to take that E, make it an IE, and that is my change stem. Okay, so when I want to say I start studying right when I get home from school, do I use my regular or my change stem? My changed one. If I want to say you start studying right when you get home from school, am I using my regular or my change stem? And I'm going to do that even if I'm being formal with you. And if I want to say she starts studying right when she gets home from school, do I use my regular or my change stem? Change. What about if I want to say we? We all start studying right when we get home from school because we're great students. Regular or changed? Regular. Yeah, we don't get distracted by our phones and video games, right? And if I want to ask y'all, if I'm in Spain, I say, hey, do you all start your homework right when you get home from school? Am I using my regular or changed stem? Changed. And if I'm in Latin America, though, when I want to ask you guys, hey, do you all start studying right when you get home from school? Do I use my regular or my change stem? Changed. And if I want to say they start studying right when they get home from school, is that regular or changed? Changed, right? Now, what I do want to point out, okay, so these guys, and I'll show you a whole list of them in just a second. These guys get lumped together because when you're looking at their changed and their regular, they have a vowel that's doing the same thing. So empezar has an E in it that's changing to an IE with our change stem. And the same thing with querer, that E is changing to an IE. However, if you notice, querer has blue endings and empezar has red. So these guys are lumped together because of the change that happens to the vowel in their stem, not their ending. So they may have different endings. So be careful of that. That's an error people sometimes make. So if you look, here's a whole list of some other verbs that do the same thing as empezar and querer. And you can see that I've got red, blue, and green endings up here. So be careful of that. Okay, questions on these? All right, so I'm going to show you a whole nother set. Does the same thing, but the way the vowel changes is different. So we're going to jump down to slide 37. Okay, so we have volver. Here, I'll get rid of this. So again, you can watch me do it. Volver has an E besides the R. So we're going to use our blue endings. And I can go ahead and take them because, again, the endings do not make these guys irregular. It's what happens to the black part of the verb, the stem. Okay? So this is my regular stem, what it came with. And then I'm told this time that the change that it makes to get our change stem is an O to a UE. Okay, so that's my regular. Here is my changed. Okay, so when I want to say I return home right after school, do I use my regular or my change stem? I return home, regular or changed? Changed. If I want to ask you, hey, do you return home right after school? Regular or changed? Change. And even when I'm being formal with you, right? I'm using your last name instead of your first. What about he? If I want to say, does he return home right after school? Is it regular or changed? Changed. What about we? We all return home right after school. Regular or changed? If it's nosotros, regular or changed? Regular. What about if I want to ask you guys and we're in Spain, hey, do you all return home right after school? Are you using your regular or your change stem? Is it regular? But if we're in Mexico and I want to say, hey, do you guys all return home after school? Am I using my regular or my change stem? Change. And if I want to say my kids, they return home right after school, is that the regular or change stem? Changed. Okay. So you can see, still making that boot, doing the exact same thing, only the spelling change you're making is different. Okay. All right. So to give you, I'm going to skip over one slide. I'll come back to the one right after it in a minute. So skip over that one and go down here, dormir. It does the same thing. I just like to give you a little bit of examples, but remember that dormir has an I next to the R, so we're using these green endings, the IR ones. And again, I can go ahead and put them in here because they are not the problem. It's the stem that's the problem. And then we go over here. This is my original stem, what it came with. And I'm told that it's an O to UE, so I can take that O, turn it into a UE, and that gives me my changed stem. If I want to say I sleep 6 hours a night, do I use my regular or my change stem? I sleep, regular or changed? Anybody? Thank you, Chris. If I want to say you sleep 8 hours a night, which is probably a lie, because if you're like my kids, you're probably sleeping like 4, 5. Am I right? No, you sleep? Okay, 12? Who said 12? How are you getting 12 and getting all your homework done?
That's a great question.
So no homework's getting done. And how are you getting 12 and getting in your gaming time too? I mean, that's another, gotta get that in. Sorry. So like the battle all the time. All right. So you're just out of commission when you go home, right? Pretty much. That's nice. That's good. I wish I had people like that in my house. They stay up way too late. Like this morning when I got up, my middle son's light was still, I think he just fell asleep doing homework or God knows what. I took his phone, not on purpose. He's like giving it to me so that he can get his work done. And, but it was like before 5 in the morning and his light was still on. I had to go in there and turn it off. I'm like, I don't even know. I give up. All right. So if I want to ask you, if I want to say, do you sleep at least 8 hours a night? Am I using my regular or my change stem? Changed. And even if I'm being formal, still changed. If I want to say he sleeps 8 hours a night, is that regular or changed? Changed. If I want to say we sleep at least 8 hours a night, is that regular or changed? Regular. And if I want to ask you guys, and we're in Spain, I want to say, hey, do you all get to sleep 8 hours a night? Do you use your regular or your change stem? Regular. But if I am in Latin America and I want to say, hey, do you all get to sleep 8 hours a night? Do I use my regular or change stem? Changed. And if I want to say my kids, they sleep 8 hours, they sleep less than 8 hours a night, do I need my regular or change stem? Change stem. I'm going to do one more because one of these in the group is a little weird. And then I'll show you a whole list of them. The other one is jugar. Jugar is not an O to UE, which this whole group is, but it gets lumped with them. It has a U, but it still makes the same change. It becomes a UE. So again, the endings are not irregular, but I look at the R, there's an A beside it, so I pick the red endings, the one that have a bunch of A's. And again, I can go ahead and put them in here because there's nothing wrong with them. It's just the stems. So this is the original stem, the one the verb came with. And then I'm told that I can change that U to a UE. And that gives me my change stem. So if I want to say I play tennis on the weekends, do I use my regular change stem? Changed. If I want to ask you, do you play soccer on the weekends? Regular changed. Changed. And that's even being formal. If I want to say he plays soccer on the weekends, regular changed. What is it? Changed. Sorry about that. Thought my phone was on silent. All right. If I want to say we play tennis on the weekends, regular changed. Regular. If I want to ask y'all and I'm in Spain, hey, do y'all play soccer on the weekends? Regular changed. And if I am in Mexico and I want to ask you guys if you play soccer on the weekends, regular changed. Changed. And if I want to say my kids, they play tennis on the weekends, regular changed. Changed. Okay. So let me go back. There is a slide, I think it's 38, shows you a whole list of these guys. So you can see when it populates, all of these guys are ones that work the same way as dormir and jugar, right? And then you can see that they are a mixture, again, of red and blue and green endings. So just be careful of that and make sure you're using the set of endings that matches the verb, okay? Because you can see, if I go down a couple of slides, here, you've got volver and you've got jugar, that you can see that their change is similar, right? Where the green is, they all have a UE. So that's why they're lumped together, but you can see that volver has blue endings and jugar has red. All right, there's one more set and then we're going to do practice. So the next set is on slide 47. Okay, so on slide 47, these are E to I's. Same thing again. I look at my pedir. There's an I next to the R. I'm going to use my green endings. I can go ahead and plug them in because the endings are not the problem. It is the stem. This is my original stem. It's already yellow for me. And then it tells me that it changes from an E to an I. So I'm going to take that E, make it an I. That's my change stem. Okay. And so then and you can use this to order. So if I go to McDonald's and I order a hamburger, am I going to use my regular, my change stem to say I order a hamburger? Regular changed, if it's I who's doing it. Changed. If you go to McDonald's, if I ask you, what do you order when you go to McDonald's? Regular changed. Change, and that's the case even if I'm being formal with you. If I want to say Owen goes to McDonald's and he orders a hamburger, is that regular or changed? Changed. If I want to say when we go to McDonald's, we all order hamburgers, do I use regular or changed? Change. What do I use? Regular. And if I am in Spain and I want to ask you guys, hey, when you go to McDonald's, do you order hamburgers? Regular or changed? Regular. But if I'm in Mexico and I ask you, do you all order hamburgers at McDonald's? Do you use regular or changed? Changed. And if I want to say when my sons go to McDonald's, they order hamburgers, do I use regular or changed? Changed. Does that make sense? Same thing again. Then you can see it. One more example, repetir. Okay. Same thing again. You'll notice it's still an I. We're still using green endings. I'm going to plug them in because, again, they're not the problem. And then my original stem is at R-E-P-E-T. And then I'm told that I can change the E to an I and get my change stem. Now, with this one, you might have been like, okay, it's an E to I. There's two E's in there. Which one do I pick? It's always the E closest to the ending. So if they ever have two E's in there and you're changing your E to I-E or your E to I, pick the one that's right next to the ending, not the one that's closest to the beginning. So again, and repetir, well, we can use it, it can be either to order a get or to like get seconds or to like literally repeat, like repeat vocabulary. But let's do seconds because it's Thanksgiving almost, right? So for Thanksgiving, I repeat mashed potatoes. If I want to repeat mashed potatoes, if I want to get seconds of those, do I use the regular or the change stem? Change. What do you repeat for Thanksgiving? What do you get seconds of? Mac and cheese. Okay, but is it regular or changed? Changed. And if I'm being formal, changed. What about if I want to say he repeats pumpkin pie? Changed. We repeat pumpkin pie. Or we repeat mac and cheese, regular or changed? Regular. If I want to ask y'all, hey, what do y'all repeat for Thanksgiving? And we're in Spain, to use the regular, the change stem. Regular, but if I'm in Mexico, regular or changed? Changed. And if I want to say they repeat pumpkin pie, it's going to be what? Changed. Does that make sense? And you can see on the next slide other examples, and you're in luck when it comes to the E to I. Stem changers, they all have the same ending, so you don't have to worry about the whole red, green, blue. They're all green. Okay, questions on those? Okay, then go to the, I think it's like this third to last slide. There's practice. Well, actually, and if you looked at the very last slides, there's videos that go over stem changers. So you have access to these slides. If you want to watch the video, you can as well. All right, so if you go here, click on the stem changing practice. All right, and there is, I wonder if it's got my answer still in here. I don't know. There is, you know, how to do the ERs, tener and venir. I forgot to mention tener and venir. Let's just look at them really quickly. Tener and venir fit in this group, sort of, but they have an additional irregularity in their yo form. So you can see that tener and venir are both E to I stem changers, but then you got to remember that they have an additional weirdness in their yo form. But otherwise, you see this is the original stem. It's going there. The change stem, IE, is going everywhere else. Then it has a third stem in the yo form. So keep that in mind with those guys. So anyway, you have that on there. You have, you know, how to do the O to UEs, the E to Is. And then this first group, you have querer, and this is the stems and then the endings you would use. And you're just supposed to pick which, it's all querer. So you pick the spelling of querer that would complete each of those sentences based on who the subject is. All right, then here, same thing, volver. Which spelling of volver would best complete each of these sentences? Then you've got pedir. Which spelling of pedir would complete these guys? Then you go down here, you've got, those are just regular present tense endings, and you've got your stems here. You pick, you know, depending on who it is that is doing the wanting, the planning, etc. You decide whether you want, first will be your regular stem, second is your change stem, and then you add the right ending. Same thing here. It's just like a little paragraph, but the verbs have been given here. So you just pick the verb that best completes the sentence. And when you get down here, it's like you're picking between what stem you're going to conjugate that verb, and there you've got your regular and your change stem. So you decide, do I need my regular, my change? What ending do I use? And then you turn it in. So I'm going to give you I'm going to give you like 5 minutes to play around with it with yourself, by yourself. And then we will do part of it. I don't think we'll do the whole thing. We'll do part of it together. So you got 5 minutes to kind of test yourself, see what you know, jump around. And then in 5 minutes, we'll do a little bit of it together, and then I'll let you guys go. Oh, goodness. Okay. Oh. Shoot. Ay, ay, ay. There we go. You're sick. Allergies. Yes, they're bad. Okay, so well, time's almost up. I'm gonna start with 413 if you want to kind of go there. Okay, I don't know why that didn't ping. All right, so 413, I'm gonna do 413 and then one at the bottom. Okay. So in 413, all right, it says nuestros padres nos querer mucho. Like they love, because querer can be to love. So they love us a lot. Who's doing the loving? Who loves us? Who loves us? Parents. Okay, so be careful of that. A lot of times people want it. That's probably why you're paused. You're like, loves us. I thought us was doing, or like we were doing the loving. If you look, nosotros is we, nuestros is not we. So there's going to be some little words that look kind of like these guys, but if they are not these guys, they are not the subject. They're not who you conjugate for. It's the parents, which is the same thing as they. Our parents love us or they love us. So if you look up there, what word means they? Yo to ella, usted. What is it? Ellos, right? Is ellos yellow? No. So the regular stem is when it's yellow. If it's not yellow, I'm sorry that it's, I used to use the orange and then I think on one computer it wasn't showing up right, so I used the green. So if it is like that orange peachy color, that's where you're using your change stem. When it's yellow, you're using your regular stem. So ellos, is it peachy, which would be changed, or is it yellow, which would be regular? Peachy, so we need the changed one. We need this. Oh, you do see the answers there. Hold on. There's a way for me to clear it. Here. Okay, sorry about that. That's because of yesterday. Let's keep it. All right, so where were we? For Fortune, where are you? There we go. Okay, so we wanted our change stem. And then when it's for they, what ending do I add on the end? What is it? Ian. Perfecto. Okay. Then mi hermano pensar mucho en su novia. Who's thinking a lot about their girlfriend? Brother. Okay. Brother is the same thing as he. My brother or he is thinking a lot about his girlfriend. Which of these words is he? Yo, tú, él, usted, nosotros, vosotros, ustedes, ellos, ellas. What's he? Él. Is it that peachy color or is it yellow? Peachy means change, so we pick our change stem, and then what ending do we add for brother? Not any A. Be careful of that, because if there's an A next to the R, like you see the infinitive before you see the stems, see that A? You need the endings that have a bunch of A's in them, so you're looking in the red column. Does that make sense? All right, yo no entender bien a mis suegros. Who doesn't understand these in-laws? Who doesn't understand the in-laws? I don't. What word is I? Is it a peachy color or is it yellow? Peachy, does that mean I need the regular or the changed? Changed. And then what ending do I add for yo? A no. All right, then mi esposo y yo soñar con tener una pequeña familia. Who's dreaming of having this small family? Mi esposo, my husband, and who else? Which is the same thing as we. What word is we in Spanish? Looking at that chart. Yo, tú, usted, él, ella, nosotros, vosotros, ustedes, ellos, ellas. What's we? What is it? Nosotros. Is that yellow or peachy? Yellow. So do we want the regular ending or, I mean, the regular stem or the changed one? Regular. And then what ending do I add for, what ending do I add for nosotros if it's soñar? Amos. Yeah, because next to that R is an A. So I need the A, the endings with a bunch of A's in them. Mi hermano menor preferir un perro para su cumpleaños. Who prefers to get a dog for their birthday? My who? My brother, which is the same thing as he, right? My brother, my little brother prefers to get a dog or he prefers to get a dog. What word is he? Él? Is that a peachy color or is it yellow? So do I need changed or regular? Changed, and then what do I put on the end for brother? An E. ¿Qué pedir tú para tu cumpleaños? Now I want to know, what are you getting for your birthday? So what is you in Spanish? Tú, if I look up here, is tú peachy or yellow? Peachy, changed or regular? Changed. And then what do I add on the end? Yes, perfecto. So let's do another one that's like that. So go down past the text for 6. Scrolling down till you get to this one, text 407. It says, Ana Maria was invited by her cousin Antonio to visit him in Ciudad de Guatemala. Complete her narrative with the correct forms of the logical verbs. I went ahead and gave you the verbs. And then if you refresh, you can see that chart again. I moved it. It's not pretty because I had to take a picture of a picture, but that way we don't have to keep scrolling to the top. So here, mi primo Antonio y yo hacemos planes para el viernes. Nosotros pensar ir al cine. Who's planning to go to the movie theater? Who is? Which is? We, which is? Nosotros is nosotros, yellow or peachy? Yellow. Does that mean regular stem or changed? Regular, and then what ending do I add to it? Vamos, perfecto. All right, then Antonio querer ver una película del Salvador que se llama Sobreviviendo Guasapa. So who wants to see this movie? Antonio, which is the same thing as he, right? Antonio wants to see a movie. He wants to see a movie. What word is he in Spanish? Él. Is it peachy or yellow? Peachy. Changed or regular? Changed. And then for querer, what ending do I put for he? An E. Does that make sense? So here's my he. It's either an A or an E. Since there's an E right here, I'm picking the E, right? Yo preferir las películas francesas. Who prefers these French films? I do. What's the word for I in Spanish? Is it peachy or yellow? Changed or regular? Changed. And then for yo, it's going to be a what? Yeah, you don't even have to look back up there because for AR, ER, and IR, they're all an O. Pero Antonio no entender francés. Who doesn't understand French? Which is the same thing as he. Antonio doesn't understand or he doesn't understand. What's the word for he in Spanish? El. Is it peachy or yellow? So does that mean changed or regular? Changed. And then what do I add on the end for Antonio? E. Su madre piensa que debemos jugar al tenis. Antonio juega bien, pero yo jugar mal. Who plays badly? No, Antonio plays well. Who plays badly? I do. I is what in Spanish? Is that peachy or yellow? Peachy. Do I want changed or regular? Changed. Changed. And then what do I add on the end if it's I? An O. All right. Y siempre perder. If I play bad and he plays well, who's losing? It's a one-on-one. It's not doubles. It's just Antonio playing me. If I play badly, who's losing? I am. What's the word for I in Spanish? Yo. Is it peachy or yellow? Do I need changed or regular? Changed. Good. And then what do I add on the end for yo? Oh. All right. También hay un concierto de música hondureña el viernes. Los boletos costar 200 quetzales. What's costing $200? The tickets. So be careful that it's not me, it's not Antonio, it's the tickets, which is the same thing as they. The tickets they cost. What word is they in Spanish? Nope, that's we. What word is they? Ellos. Is it peachy or yellow? So do we want changed or regular? Changed. Where's my close there? And then what do I add if it's ellos and this was an AR verb? Those are my options for ellos. Which one goes with AR verbs? AN, perfecto. Okay. Y el concierto empezar a las 8. What's starting at 8? Is it me or Antonio? The tickets? What's starting at 8? The concert. That's the same thing as he, because remember, there's not really an it in Spanish. Everything's a he, she. So the concert, he starts at 8. What word is he in Spanish? El. Is it peachy or yellow? Do I want changed or regular? Changed, and my changed is right here. And for he, if this is an AR verb, what am I adding on the end? An A. Perfecto. Questions on any of those? Whoops. Questions on how that works? Easy, right? Just a little bit of memorizing some stems and you got it. If you don't have any questions, you're free to go. If you came in late, which I think was a lot of you, I've got to mark you as present. So hang around for a second to let me go through it again.